Got dreams of being a professional podcaster, but have no idea what you're doing?
This is impossible.
That's about to change.
A new kind of school.
Welcome to the Pod School Podcast.
Hello there. Well, if you've clicked on this episode, that's exciting because that means you're thinking about snazzing up your show, which is never a bad thing. Audio production is just a bit of a radio term for anything that isn't speaking. So it could be music. That's the simplest form of audio production. And I'm going to step you through a few other options that you have. And this is a really nice way to add some bells and whistles to your show. So it's not just somebody turning on audio and then hearing a couple of people sitting around a microphone. At the barest of minimums in terms of production, you should absolutely have an intro and outro on your show that is just music. So you don't need it to be pre-produced like I've got on the start of my show. You can just have a piece of music that you like and introduce your show live, as it were, once you record something on tape. But you want to have some kind of audio signature so people can hear your show and think, yep, here we go, this is the intro. It just makes it sound so much more professional. And you should think about it almost like your version of McDonald's Golden Arches. That is your audio brand. So you want to pick a piece of music that really sets up the tone of your show and makes people feel like, yes, I'm ready for your content now. So pick the right mood. That can be a real punish, I got to be honest, finding the right music for your show. You can lose hours, months, days, years of your life searching for the right track. So make sure you are prepared for that quagmire. But it's really important to have something on the beginning and end of your show because it ties a nice little professional bow around your podcast. So in terms of the simplest and essential piece of audio production, music is a must if you want your show to sound professional. After that, some of the things that you can add to really lift your show are things like stings. That's a radio term for a really small piece of pre-produced audio that you can slot in between segments. So this is excellent if you are thinking about breaking your show up into little bits where you sort of talk about different things in each little segment, or maybe you have some regular spots on your show and you want some audio to break up those spots. Stings are a great way to do it. You can also create segment intros. So if you've got something that is happening in every single episode or it repeats every now and then have a little intro that is made up. So it's got a bit of music and a bit of voiceover in it so that your audience can go, oh, here's this bit that I really enjoy. And they start to get used to it and anticipate it if there's a nice segment intro on it. So those little pieces of audio, they can literally be 3 seconds, 5 seconds. I had some stings in my first personal podcast, Paul and Rach. We would have really small, short stings in between our different segments. So some of them would be as short as literally saying, you're listening to Paul and Rach with a bit of music underneath it, maybe a little zany sound effect or something. And we would have other ones that would give details of our Twitter page or our Facebook page. So you can actually do some of the business in those stings. So rather than you needing to tell people all the time what your website is or your social media handles, you can do some of that stuff in your show, in the production on your show. You can also jazz up your intro and outro music by doing a produced version of that. So that's similar to what I've got on my show that you would have heard coming in and that you'll hear going out of the show. It's a voiceover and a bit of sound effect. So it's actually a great way to set up the show and do a little tagline so you can get away the premise really quickly in the business at the beginning, and then you can just get stuck into the content of your show. Some other really easy ways to add production is if you have sound effects for things that can really add a different dimension to stuff you're talking about. If you are referring to videos online or news, you can get away with using a little bit of that under fair use. So obviously you don't want to do the whole movie in your podcast if you're talking about movies, but little bits and pieces can just add to the show and just bring in a bit of color that can be really interesting for your audience. But just read up in terms of the licensing of the stuff you're using, because you certainly don't want to use anything that gets you sent to jail. So very important, but it can be a really nice way to add a bit of color to each of your episodes. And then the final thing you can do, which can be really fun, is to use what we call in the business audio devices. But basically it could be a bit of music, it could be a sound effect. I used to do this a lot on Paul and Rach. If we were doing something where we were trying to pretend like we'd gone off to think about something, I would play the Spanish Flea. So you might find a piece of audio or a bit of music or something that just kind of, it's almost a bit of a theatrical device in a way. But any of those elements, and you don't want to be gratuitous with it, you don't want to be just shoving in bits and boings and bops everywhere, because it can be really annoying to listen to. And really, it's only good when it's used well. But if you can think about things that might add something to your show, it can just create a bit of variety for your audience. And that's always nice for them to hear a bit of something different, not just the classic chatting into their ear holes. Hope that's helped you think a little bit more about audio production and how it might help to add a bit of sparkle to your show. My online podcasting course is opening very, very shortly for enrollment. So if you want even more in-depth help and a step-by-step guide to how to start a really high-quality podcast, make sure you check it out and join the waitlist at podschool.com.au, and you will get an email as soon as the course opens. Of course, if you're enjoying this show, please share it with somebody who needs a little help with their podcast or who has dreams and is waiting to start one of their own. Let's help them get it started on the right foot. I'll see you next week, and until then, happy podcasting.
That's all for today.